I am a recovering church bureaucrat. I started off serving on the General Commission on Religion and Race when I was 12 years old. From there, I served in several different capacities as both a volunteer and a paid member for the United Methodist Church. My first paying position was with the Desert Southwest Annual Conference, thanks to Reverend Tom Butcher. I served there as the assistant editor for communications and as the project manager for promotion of Christian giving. I was always ambitious, and when the position for camping and youth ministries opened up, I wanted it. But the problem was I was only 22 years old and I had very little life experience. So it was technically a long shot for me to even try. At that time, I really hadn't heard much about this concept called the glass ceiling, and that wasn't about to stop me anyway, so I thought. So I remember approaching my boss and asking him if he would allow me to be the conference liaison with the youth and young adults, while the conference was trying to figure out what they were going to do with the conference camp and youth ministry position. And of course, it meant that he didn't have to do it, and I was the youngest person on conference staff, so he readily said yes, and away I went. I was going to prove myself. I got busy rallying the conference council and youth ministries, encouraging the youth and telling them, don't let anyone look down on you because you are young, but set an example for the believers. That good old 1 Timothy 4:13. This is the time when I met some incredible youth who were ready to change the world, and I wanted to be the wind beneath their wings, ensuring that they could fly. And some of them really took off and served the church in incredible ways, like Kelly Carpenter, for example, down in North Texas Annual Conference, where she serves as the first lay delegate for General Conference. These are change makers. But unfortunately, that work wasn't even enough, and the conference decided to go with someone older, more experienced. So I went somewhere they wanted me, and that was the Wisconsin Annual Conference. In the Wisconsin Conference, I served as the conference youth coordinator, and from there I was elected as the lay delegate to the 2004 General Conference. After serving 4 full terms on general boards and agencies, and as the Chief Connectional Ministries Officer with the Connectional Table, and then from there going on as one of the executive directors for the General Board of Global Ministries, I think I've earned the title UMC Church Bureaucrat. And for the last 25 years of my life, I have served the United Methodist Church in some administrative or leadership capacity within the church bureaucracy. But over the last few years, I've been asking the question, to what end? In 2016, I preached the closing message at the Connectional Table's board meeting, and it was entitled, Hevel, Hevel. Everything is Hevel. I used the Ecclesiastes 1 passage where the teacher reminds the students that everything is pointless, as the Common English Bible interprets the Hebrew term. Pointless, pointless. Everything is pointless. Here are the words of the teacher from Ecclesiastes 1 through 9. Some things are inevitable. What do people gain from all their hard work that they work so hard at under the sun? A generation goes and a generation comes, but the earth remains as it always was. The sun rises, the sun sets, and it returns to the same place where it dawns. Whatever has happened, that's what will happen again. Whatever has occurred, that's what will occur again. There is nothing new under the sun. So most biblical translations take hevel and translate it to pointless. But some Hebrew scholars point to something different. According to scholars, it's more like fleeting, unable to grasp or hold, like smoke. Hevel, hevel. Everything is hevel. In 2016, I questioned whether or not all this infighting that the United Methodist Church was doing really even mattered. Was it worth engaging? Was it worth all of the pain and frustrations? In 2020, we've already passed the date of General Conference, And now millions of United Methodists around the world are wondering if any of the things that we were fighting for before even matter. Hevel, hevel. Everything is hevel. Pointless, like smoke. You see, when my position at Global Ministries was eliminated in September, I had to take a serious step back and assess what the last 25 years of my life was really worth. What has it been about? And I wondered whether or not God was calling me to jump back into the fray of the bureaucratic system, or if God was calling me to engage somewhere else. When all you've ever known is the United Methodist system, it's hard to do anything else. I mean, when I was 18 years old, I was so into this United Methodist thing that I went out and got a tattoo. That's how deep I was into this UMC thing. I've never really known anything else. In fact, part of my story was that my first home was in the basement of a United Methodist church in Kansas City, Missouri. But lately, for me, the whole UMC system was feeling like hevel, pointless smoke. I felt called to find and share hope in new ways with and among the people who are struggling every day to find meaning, people who are struggling to change their future, and offer them hope when all hope is lost. You see, Ecclesiastes 1 brings people from the brink of despair to the precipice of meaning and hope. I responded to God's nudges by opening up this art market. This art collective brings together artists who share their art from their hearts. And it's given me a deeper sense of God's work in spite of all the bureaucracies that sometimes seem out of touch. You see, there were too many moments in my previous work where the motivations felt more driven by the need for power rather than the promise of God's love. The artists at Citizen Exchange and the women in We Are, they've given me hope again. These artists have shared their stories of how they've poured their hearts into their art. For example, I want to tell you a little bit about Jenny Lohman. You see, she's one of these artists who can see the most broken, worthless pieces of junk and create something new and beautiful. You see, growing up, she had very little in her family, and her mother always told her, make do with what you got. And she has. She even found a way to make old cicada shells valuable and artistic. Check out her rendition of The Last Supper with cicada shells. And so I'm leaning into this appointment as an ordained deacon in the United Methodist Church. The exciting thing is that I've been appointed to hope. Hope through We Are, women engaged in action, reflection, and expression, an online community of over 600 women. Hope through Citizen Exchange, this artist collective where artists from all over the community are coming together to share their art from their heart. This is exciting, different kinds of ways in which we can engage in ministry. And by God's grace, I feel called to walk this journey with all of these incredible people that I've met through the online community and through Citizen Exchange, this art collective. It's scary, it's frustrating. There are moments when I wonder if this is really where God wants me. But I'm leaning in. I'm offering hope through the places and spaces where God has called me to today. And for that, praise be to God.